It's February 4th, 2014. Heading to work. So this is a commentary about some experiences I had in Portland. I lived there for a year and a half. And then, anyway, while I was there, I had sort of a Alice in Wonderland type experience, checking out various things. Growing up as a naive kid in Utah, I decided to go there and check out all the hippie situation, hippie activities. And so, anyway, while I was there, I happened across an atheist group that used to meet once a week in a little shop. It was a group called United States Atheists, or USA Atheists, one of those two. Anyway, the group is now essentially defunct because the place that the group was using was being used for free, but the guy who owned the property had some problems with the roof, and then he decided to start charging rent, and then the group moved, and then I think the group petered out after that due to a lack of physical presence, I guess, and a lack of organizational skills. Maybe if they just would have opened up a meetup.com group, they could have kept going. That seems to be a fairly successful way to get things going, at least previously. Anyway, so at this United States Atheists group weekly meeting, there was this guy who befriended me there when he invited me to go out to have a beer after the meetings. That was nice. And then some of the other participants would go to the bar as well, kind of a bar next door. And we had a good time talking and talked at length about things. Then later, there was another group called Beaverton Atheists, and they managed to convince the Center for Inquiry to take over their meetup.com dues. And so the Beaverton Atheists became Center for Inquiry Portland branch. So this same man who would go with me to the bars at the bar visit after the United States Atheists, he became kind of an organizer for the Center for Inquiry Portland. So, for example, there were a number of times where we would go to the OMSI, the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, the OMSI Science Pub as a group, and this guy would be kind of an organizer for that. And then in addition to that, there was a cable access show in Portland called Sciligion, Science and Religion. and it was that was headed up by a guy whose wife was an atheist, and he was an evangelical Christian. And he essentially had this cable access TV show to kind of chat about, to have a meeting between atheists and people who believed in religion. Now, later, that same cable access TV show host guy became an atheist. Okay. But the original guy who kind of befriended me at the United States Atheists meeting, and who went out with me to the bar after to chat, and who was the organizer for the OMSI Science Pub activities for Center for Inquiry Portland, November of last year, I saw a video he made where he was talking to some evangelical preacher guy about how he had converted back to evangelical Christianity. Okay. And I listened to the video, and he was talking about, well, there were kind of two impressions I had. One was the preacher guy, he chose to repeat all of the audience questions, even though the audience questions were hearable. You could hear them. On the video, okay, but he kind of had to rephrase them each time. And that was a little bit unusual, I thought. But nevertheless, the guy did seem to give honest answers in the video. For example, he was talking about how Francis Collins believed in some sort of a god, and yet he was a famous scientist. And he also talked about how, when he was just a naturalist, he wasn't taking into account the supernatural, essentially, the metaphysical. And so my response to that whole, listening to that is kind of multifaceted. One point is, it's clear that maybe this friend of mine was upset with the social situation with the Center for Inquiry Portland. Maybe he couldn't find a woman to date. And that's probably I bet that's the main reason. I mean, he can speak for himself, but just my supposition, that's my kind of first guess, is perhaps the dating prospects were not all that pleasant, or I don't know, maybe just not adequate for him. Okay, so that's one. And maybe he had a falling out with some of the leadership for that group. And I can understand why, because the Center for Inquiry is essentially an atheist religion. Okay, they have their certain dogma points. And if you don't agree to those, you're out. Or you don't get invited to be a leader, or, that's just the way it is. It's not really a Center for Inquiry, it's a Center for liberal religion. Now, that's fine, they can have their religion, but you just have to be honest about what the labels are. Okay? Center for Liberal Religion. Center for helping people leave their conservative religion so that they can embrace liberal religion. That's my view of that group. Additionally, as I've observed some of the atheist meetings here in Utah, sometimes it's the people who feel like they're, you know, sometimes it's kind of the people who feel like more like they're the outcasts. It's like the people who show up are more of the outcast type as opposed to just kind of normal people. So, for example, you can go there and there can be an overemphasis on things like gay rights advocacies. You know, thinking like the fight for gay rights is the most important thing an atheist can do. You know, all atheists, the most important thing an atheist can do is to fly the gay flag, advocate for gay marriage, advocate for gay adoption, unquestionably. And if you question any of that, well, you're not a true atheist. You're just holding on to your old religion. That's what they'll tell you. That's bullshit. People's concern about homosexuality is a natural thing too. Now, we have some homosexual people who help us out, and they're nice people. But there's also the fact that I had a gay nephew who had a situation where, you know, he was much more of a vain type and petty type guy. Still is, was and is. And how they befriended a man who was released from prison after being a child abuser as a scout leader. Child abuser. So, not everything's black and white, you know? And when you leave your conservative religion, you know, there are a bunch of lies in conservative religion, in evangelical Christianity. And it's sad, really, that to be part of a religion, to be part of a social group, you have to adhere to whatever the dogma points are of that social group. Is that human nature? Is there some way we can change that? Now, if you're going to have a free-thinking group, you should have one that's contingent on not having people have to adhere to, well, let's find the appropriate labels. Atheism plus, feminism, pro-ultra the homosexual agenda, pro-ultra the, you know, every feminism. You talk to so-called free thinkers and you say to them, oh, hey, I don't agree with on this, and they'll say, well, hey, you're not a free thinker. Is that right? What if I can come up with completely secular and reasonable reasons for my positions? Then what will you say? Well, you're just holding on to your religion too much. So I can understand why my friend may have said, well, hey, I'm jumping ship because this new social group is not really what they claim they are. And that's kind of what religions do too. They are not what they claim they are either. You know, religions are not the end-all for human morality. Liberal or conservative or liberal. Because human morality comes from humans. Go to China and do some in-person, first-hand research, see what they think, and they haven't been exposed to your Christianity or your Islam or your Judaism. And yet there are plenty of moral people there with lots of family values and stuff like that. What's up with that? Huh? So, anyway, and another point is human neural networks can be sucked into new modalities of thought. And when you're in the new camp, the new mimetic camp, you put up defense walls to retain your current, to retain your presence in whatever mimetic camp you have found yourself in. So when you're a Mormon or a Christian or whatever, you have brain software which can defend against any possible objection. You know? Like if you're a Mormon and you hear, well, DNA evidence discounts the Book of Mormon, you'll just come up with all sorts of reasons to say, oh, well, science doesn't understand things, and oh, well, our God will tell us what the truth is in the hereafter. Or, oh, well, Scott Woodward at BYU, he is also a DNA scientist, so we got ours, they got theirs, therefore it's a zero-sum game. Oh, well, see, there's an answer for everything. And the evangelical Christians can do the same thing. Now, regarding the so-called paranormal or metaphysics, whatever, paranormal stuff that's kind of beyond the physical realm, I don't know what that is. I mean, everything is the physical realm. If you're in another dimension, that's still the physical realm. If you're some God who's above everything in his own dimension, that's still a physical realm. You know, if you're, anyway. So there's no such thing as this extra thing which is untouchable. It's does it exist or not? Yes or no? If your God exists, then he exists. He's a physical thing. Even if he's just a spirit. You know, what the hell's a spirit anyway? It's still a physical thing in whatever dimension or realm you're talking about. So I don't know what that means. It means nothing. So this attempt to have a differentiation between naturalism and supernaturalism is meaningless. It's just a trick. It's a mimetic defense mechanism for helping you keep in your camp, in your social group where you're happy. You know, can you ask your preacher, hey preacher, what happens if I don't believe in your God? Can I be part of your social group? Can I be a member of your church? Huh? That would be a nice church, a nice social group, a nice religion, a nice atheist group where you don't have to toe the party line and still be a full member. And hey, people celebrate your views too. Unitarianism approaches that to some extent, but they still have their own dogmas, like what's in one dogma point? Everything Reza Aslan writes is perfect. Muhammad was a man of peace instead of a man of war who had a 6-year-old wife who consummated the marriage when she was 9, and who killed a lot of people because if they didn't convert to Islam. Anyway, it's a dogma point of Unitarians to just accept that Muhammad was a man of peace. And it's a dogma point of them that everything conservative is evil. Maybe it's not. Now, admittedly, I think Ayn Rand is evil. I've mentioned that before, but there's different. When people are born, they just have a different level of empathy ingrained in their brain. You know, there's natural sociopaths. There's also natural Republicans and Democrats. But you can go overboard either way. You can be too relativist, and you can be too harsh. liberal or conservative. Okay? All right. Have fun. So I hope my friend has fun in his new religion, but I guess my key question is, you know, I guess I'd like to have a further discussion with him about this whole apparent paranormal stuff, the metaphysical. I don't know what that is. It means nothing to me. Strange. It's just a trick. It's a trick to keep you in your Mennonite camp. So, anyway, but you're a nice guy, and I appreciate you. The fact that you befriended me in Portland, and we had some good times while I was there. All right, have fun.